pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Morissette?
Here.
Yakub?
Here.
Bernard?
Here.
Weiland?
Here.
O'Malley?
Here.
We have, if we could, I'd like to change the order of between A and B and just ask for comments, if that's okay with the council. First, get that out of the way. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak to the city council on an issue not on the agenda for tonight? Again, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to the council. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Again, thank you applicants for coming tonight. We have 6 of the 7 that have applied that are here. One particular individual called and is stuck in traffic between Minneapolis and St. Paul, trying to get here. And what your pleasure, council, on what you'd like to do. Do you want to finish the rest of the meeting, wait, interview the first 6, and then wait for the 7th to come? Your call. Anybody have thoughts on it?
Minneapolis and St. Paul. St. Paul to here is an hour. At least that's what it was for me.
And I don't know if it's getting any better.
We could tick off a few items on the agenda and then start the interviews is another option.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an exception. This is a, it's snowing, can't help it.
Anybody have anything contrary, or do we need to vote on it, or should we just start on the rest of the agenda and then come back to the interview for the applicants? Mr. O'Malley, you're...
Well, I'm just toying. I mean, there's a nagging thought that is probably unfair, but if this is to be a problem in getting to meetings.
Well, it's 6 o'clock. We usually have meetings at 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so the ladies over there say it's unfair, so it must be unfair.
It's unusual traffic conditions, Scott.
Yeah.
Randy, any thoughts? Should we wait?
Yeah, let's go to the other parts of the agenda. That's my thought.
Everyone okay with that here? All right. Consent agenda. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
To approve the public hearing and regular meeting minutes of December 6, 2010, and the closed session minutes of December 6, 2010. To approve claims for payment with detail available in the clerk's office. To approve operators' licenses for regular operators for the period of December 21st, 2010 to June 30th, 2012, to Justin Gilmer of Hudson, William Mitchell of Woodbury, and Dana Overland of Hudson. To approve the issuance of a taxicab driver's license to Joshua L. Hibbard, Hudson, Wisconsin. To approve the renewal and issuance of secondhand jewelry dealer licenses to Robert Madsen, doing business as Elizabeth Fine Jewelry and J.R. Halbert Jewelry, both of Hudson. To authorize the Hudson Home and Garden Club to install garden plaques at the gardens in Lakefront Park and at Corky's Pier, with all plaque costs to be the responsibility of the club. To approve the St. Croix Animal Friends Dog Walk to be held in Lakefront Park on Saturday, June 4th, 2011, and to waive the nonprofit rental fee of $125 contingent upon approval of the direct seller permits and the cleanup of the park after the event. To refer to the Plan Commission and schedule a public hearing for January 24th, 2011 regarding the request to rezone properties at 900 4th Street and 410 Orange Street from R1 one-family residential and two-family residential district to office district. To approve the renewal of a 2-year mutual aid agreement with Lower St. Croix Valley, Bayport, Stillwater, Lake Elmo, and Maplewood, Minnesota as presented, and to place on file the December 14th, 2010 meeting minutes of the Public Utilities Commission and the December 1st minutes of the Hudson Area Joint Fire Board.
I'm sorry, can we pull the dog walk, please? I thought I didn't need to, but I thought it through.
Move for approval on the rest of the consent.
Roll call vote.
I did second.
Oh,
Second.
sorry.
I'll second.
Morissette?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Weiland?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Okay. First item on the agenda is consider revision of the city procurement policy. Lori?
Well, I just wanted to bring this forward, and it's not ready for approval. We had some discussion at finance, but it occurred to me after the bids at our last meeting, the quotes that came in on the squad cars. But this has happened a number of times, that the quotes come in, they come in at different times, and we get additional information, and we're left sometimes not always comparing apples and oranges. And what I'd like to suggest is that any quotes that come in for items $5,000 or over, that they're received by the city administrator. They can be opened at a public opening. They don't have to be, but I just want to close that loop so that there's not a lot of back and forth once the quotes start coming in. And I've seen in other cities where they've done this, they have different cutoffs, but I thought $5,000 seemed like a reasonable cutoff point, and certainly open for discussion. And then, Lee had mentioned that if once the specification goes out and we realize that changes need to be made to it or something was forgotten, that needs to be made public, correct?
Right. So the idea, in these situations, you've got quotes back and you say, well, I got a couple more features here I didn't think about. Well, if everybody's going to get a chance to review their quotes, getting back to your solution to wrap it, going back around the process, then we need to update our specifications, which were wrong to begin with, and then give everybody a chance to say, okay, these are the correct specifications. Now what's your quote on it? So just to make it fair, because you don't end up with the situation where, I've got a couple of new things that I should have added, but I have to accept the quotes that are already out there, and then you're back in the negotiation.
I have a question regarding your proposal not to have employee input.
Well, it's not to not have employee input, but go ahead and ask your question.
Well, I think it said without employee input. Didn't your memo say that?
Once the quotes come back, once the bids come back.
Right, and I have a question about that. Because if a quote comes back that would otherwise look really great from somebody that one of our department heads knows a lot of history about, that would be maybe something we ought to know, I think we need that employee's input.
And I'm not trying to shut that down at all, Scott. That's not... What I'm saying is, this shouldn't be a process where some of the bids come in, some of the quotes come in one day, and some others trickle in later. Some of the specifications don't match up, and there's discussion that goes on. I just think we need to close that loop. But no, once they come in and they're made, that information's made available to the department head and it comes to council, no, that's all up for discussion.
Okay, then I don't have an objection.
I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
And the big piece here is formalizing the end of quote period and opening them all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
Well, I would like to move that we have Catherine look at the language and just make sure that that's drafted properly.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, going down to park board. Consider naming the new park Hudson Meadows. Randy?
This is simply, I think, wanted to make sure that we got official approval. This was passed back in September, and the park board recommended that we name that park Meadows Park. So I guess I'm just looking for formal approval for that.
Is that a motion?
That is.
I'll second it.
Just as a comment, and I guess I'll ask Catherine, it says here, it shall be the sole responsibility of the Hudson Park Board to name parks within the park system. I suppose we can say it's okay, but it's their choice, unless we want to change that. But
And they did accept that.
okay. Is there there's a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 3 on Park Board number C, or request from the St. Croix Animal Friends for a dog walk on Saturday, June 2nd. Consider waiving the rental fee for a nonprofit. Mary, you had that pulled?
Yeah, I pulled it, and then at first I was gonna pull it, then I thought maybe I didn't need to, and I might still not have needed to, but I want to clarify something. It says, the nonprofit fee will be waived contingent on cleanup after the park, so if cleanup of the park is not done properly, we're gonna go back and seek the $125, or would it be better to just maybe have a $75 deposit put down in the forefront, and if there's problems with cleanup or damage to the park or to the bathrooms or what have you, you know.
So a security
A
deposit.
security deposit. At first, I'm thinking in my head, we're just waiving everything, so maybe we should have a security deposit. And then, after hearing it read out loud, the word contingent popped out, and I was like, oh, well. It's contingent, which means we're saying if it's not taken care of properly, we're gonna,
How are
you
you gonna
know.
collect it after the fact?
Yeah, that's what I'm a little concerned about, so.
Ms. Bunker's here, I believe, and she could answer some questions if you have.
Would you like to come up to the mic and give us your name and address, please?
My name is Blair Bunker, and you'll have to speak up a little harder here.
Okay. Anybody have any question?
Well, at Park Board, she made it very clear that they are going to be responsible for cleaning up after it, and I specifically asked about dog bags.
We will have, I work for pickup, so we will have more dog bags than you've ever seen before. And they will be handed bags at the beginning of the walk. I will have at least 15 to 20 volunteers there, double checking. I will personally walk everything at the end. I really want this to happen, so.
Well, we have a precedent for this that happened just last summer. A political rally took place in Lakefront Park that was actually on behalf of our former mayor. And payment in advance was not received, and a bill was sent later on, which was then paid. So we have billed.
And I don't have a problem if we're gonna bill, when I wanted to pull it, when I had it in my mind to pull it, I didn't see contingent for some reason, and then when I heard contingent, I wasn't gonna pull it, and then I thought, I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that it's all understood, and that if there is an issue, we either are gonna bill out, or if we're concerned about billing out, that we maybe even just do a deposit, even if 50% of of what it would be to, and which can be later returned. I'm not saying that the event's not gonna happen, an event, you know.
I
it's-
think that's fine.
It's more of a, let's assure that we have, I mean, we have to pay salaries if we, or pay to repair or anything.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to have a $75 deposit required that will be returned if everything is
I'll second it.
appropriate.
Okay. Any other
Is
discussion?
that a
Yes.
standard deposit? I think it's-
We don't
No,
have
I
a
just-
standard deposit.
We don't have one. I actually asked Tom what he thought would be.
There are deposits because.
With our charges, but sometimes they're upfront, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Tom's here.
Did you hear?
There's charges
Thank
because we see refunds.
You know, I
and-
understand what you guys are saying, but are we making this harder than it needs to be?
Do we charge on
Are
the
there
park?
standard deposits at the parks when they
It's-
rent pavilions and?
Some of the pavilions or rentals we charge for. Deposits we have occasionally. I guess it seems fair to me that if you have concerns and would like a security deposit, that if everything's clean, we can certainly return that when it's
Yeah.
all done.
We see those returned in our invoices all the time, so I know there are deposits on the pavilions. So,
Any other comments, Randy?
No, let's not make it harder than it needs to be. It's a good cause. They're trying to make something happen for a shelter in our community. Waive the fee is my thought.
Okay. Lee, any comment on this issue?
We have a motion and a second. don't
Right.
we?
and the motion is for a $75
To approve the
security
recommendation
deposit.
and add a 75.
That would be returned.
Right.
if
All
there's no-
dependencies are met.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Next item of business is designate a city representative to the gate.
Got the fire contract.
Oh, revised fire contract, excuse me. Revised 2011 fire contract with other municipalities. Catherine?
Oh, well, you should have had in your packet a revised contract. The last meeting, I got the sense that the council needed a little more fleshing out of how this future land purchase agreement, land or building purchase, or actually I added capital improvements would work. And so that's what I've done. I kind of went over the whole agreement again, just to make it clear. But with respect to the actual land purchase agreement, I added the paragraph 11 that if an agreement couldn't be reached among the municipalities or with any particular municipality, that the city could determine, if that's the case, that it's not able to provide suitable fire service to that municipality, would give a 3-year notice, and that municipality would have to obtain alternative fire service within that 3 years. On any termination, either non-renewal, the 10-year non-renewal, the non-renewing municipality has to pay off their capital account balance on or before expiration of the 10 years, and their pro rata share of any capital purchases that are purchased during, after their notice of non-renewal. Termination because of inability to provide service would be the same, only it's a shorter period. It's a notice period of 3 years. And they'd have to pay off their balance of a capital account and pro rata share of any assets purchased, including land or buildings, within that 3 years. And if they want, under either scenario, if they want to get out earlier, they just pay off all their capital accounts. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. This has been asked to go back to the fire board, which I think, this is different from what it originally started at. I think the members of the fire board would like the opportunity to discuss it and understand it before they go back to their municipal boards. And I think that's a good idea, but that's up to you folks. They are trying to schedule a meeting for most likely the 29th is what I hear, and that'll be an opportunity to discuss and explain. And you can, I think, certainly say whether you think this contract is satisfactory or meets the city's needs. You wouldn't actually approve it until it's, I suppose, gone back to the fire board to see whether they have any comments or any of the municipalities.
We came back with Scott's concern. I think we answered that.
You did. It's taken care of.
Second thing that I looked at is our existing facility. I think we were talking about new purchases, but what happens if we need to expand this one? And so that's what we tried to make sure that they don't say, well, I'm sorry, you can't expand down here. So I think that's what we tried in number 11 to get to.
And what this will cover is, for us, let's say that a new law comes through and says that we have to support the area with this additional equipment, or something changes in how we have to deliver service. And we realize that to do that, we have to add more equipment to support that. And another organization says we can't afford that, we don't want to do that, we want to go with a different service. So this gives us the negotiating opportunity.
It's covering us.
Well, the
Yes.
council has the authority under this agreement to make the purchases it believes is necessary to serve the city and the municipalities it serves. So that's without question. The only question then is, how do you deal with a municipality that's not signing on to it? And they may have better options somewhere else. We don't know, but I think Randy had brought it up too at the last meeting. How do we protect the city?
Right.
And I did add, I think, I think the key is communication, and that's why I added paragraph 5, just so that the members of the fire board can be thinking as well about equipment, land, whatever the needs are, and can be communicating with their municipalities. So there shouldn't be surprises. Now, it may be that a municipality just can't afford it at that point, and then that's just a reality we all have to deal with.
But we have declared the rules of the game up front, which was my concern.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody can come
No.
back and say, hey, you didn't talk about
Yeah.
that. We are talking about
Yeah, and I think that's a good process.
I would like to see us move forward and approve this as it is, We'll have the fire board meeting, we'll have a conversation. I believe you're going to be there
Yeah.
with them. They've already talked to their boards. They're going to come back with any concerns, but at least we will lay out what we're willing to agree to.
So our partners have seen a draft of this?
They have not seen this.
They've seen the one right before this that doesn't include that
That
language.
doesn't include the termination bit, and it's just, this is more detailed.
Would you want to make your approval contingent upon the fire advisory board and the other municipalities?
We certainly can. I think that what we're saying is this is what we agree to, and we would like to propose it to you.
Sounds like a
So-
motion, I'll second.
Yeah.
It is a motion.
Motion and a second.
I have a question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
the language in point 7. Are you using the word town to refer to both town and village?
Yeah, I think, I had tried to change it so this was more generic, and I probably,
This is a town contract,
yeah,
though.
this,
It'll be changed
it will be
depending on.
changed
Okay.
depending
Good
on the
catch.
No, that's fine.
municipality. Oh, one other thing that came up, it should also, and this is just form language, include a severability clause, which, like we included ordinances. And I'd also like to have that it can be amended only by written agreement of the parties, so that it's clear.
So we need final approval from the other municipalities by what day?
January 14th, huh? Or 15th?
15th, yeah.
15th of January.
We'd say,
Otherwise, it goes back
To the original one that we've already approved.
Yeah.
correct.
Mary?
No, I'm cool.
Randy? Okay. Lori, anything else? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we'll work into the new business, designated a city representative to the Gateway Corridor Commission Policy Advisory Committee. Danny? I think everyone received it in their packet.
Good evening. The Gateway Corridor Commission is a new effort by basically the eastern side of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. It really originated in looking at light rail alternatives for light rail potentially coming to the east metro area. And recently there was a invitation to Wisconsin communities to participate in that. I will serve as the technical advisory committee of that from a city representative, but there is also a policy advisory committee, and hopefully maybe an older person is interested in that subject and also has time to volunteer to sit in on that committee. Part of the responsibilities would to help make decisions on alternative transit modes coming east on the I-94 corridor from Twin Cities to Eau Claire, but particularly how it may affect the city of Hudson in our parochial view of this issue. The issue, this does not include high-speed rail. It's only on the I-94 corridor. It would take about 12 meetings over the next 18 months. In the last week, the dates and times of the next policy advisory committees changed about 4 times. It looks like probably they may be meeting at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesdays, but that's not fully determined as it's changed considerably in the last week. However, the next policy advisory committee has been moved back at least to the 19th, so it's not as urgent to make a decision on this issue as it was when I first brought it to Alan to be placed on this agenda. So I don't know if there's any volunteers that on the council who would like to participate in this committee. If not, then maybe we need to solicit some participation from the general public or the Plan Commission.
Is there anyone here that would like to go to 12 more meetings a month? Or are interested in this particular topic?
Maybe the next person might have an opportunity, I don't know.
We could take it on.
Yeah, no, yeah,
And
in the last week, this issue has been moved back, so it's not as urgent to make the decision tonight. So if you want to wait till the next meeting and make that decision, that's certainly fine with me.
But if you have an interest in it, let Denny know.
Yeah, call me and we
Yeah.
can discuss any issues and so forth. But part of the responsibility is bring back the information that's discussed at Policy Advisory Committee or the Technical Advisory Committees back to the Plan Commission and Common Council. Can we discuss those and have further input back into this committee? Angela Copenhagen is on the advisory team, so I don't know, Angela, if you've got any comments in regards to it, but Angela can also answer any questions for you in regards to participation in this particular effort.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Guess we'll talk about it next meeting. Thank you,
All
Don.
right, thank you.
The next item we have is consider appeal process for denied snowplow exemption permits. And I didn't do a worksheet on that, but here's what my recommendation would be, is that maybe the appeal process, after we had an individual come and talk to us last council meeting, is maybe that we should have one more appeal process. And my recommendation is to go to the Public Works Committee. We have 3 elected officials there. And if, again, one of the issues, and we'd have to change the ordinance if we want to charge for it, but maybe we'll wait till next year to do that. But I think there should be a final authority that rests with the elected officials on whether or not we're going to grant one. I think he raised a good point that there is no appeal process. It's just no, and you can't go anywhere. So not that Tom is not capable of making those decisions, but I think it helps to have another body for people to go to. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think 2 things are, one of them is, Tom has started to work through the process and work through what kinds of exemptions are granted. I think that modifying the ordinance to say, these are the kinds of exceptions, now that we know the kinds of things we're seeing, we can strengthen the ordinance to say, these are the expectations. We can agree on the expectations of what does it mean to get a car off the street, what does it mean to park in your driveway, what does it mean to the things that he's had to deal with. We can now update the ordinance to say, these are the kinds of exceptions that we will allow, or, exemptions, or, and then to also step forward and say the appeals process. We need to support him in what he's already doing, agree on what those parameters are, and then we can look at because then you may not need as many of those appeals processes if we all agree on what the requirements are.
Okay.
I will move that this be remanded back to the Public Works Committee for discussion, and recommendation to the full council.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'd just like to comment that I think Tom's done a great job. He's done what we, the council members, asked him to do, and he's been taking an awful lot of heat for it, as though it were his idea. So, Tom, we apologize, and we're going to try to rectify this issue so that people who feel they have a complaint have someplace to go.
I also want to say that the cooperation that we've gotten from a lot of people who have had to, make a little bit extra wider driveway or whatever, has been terrific. I mean, it's really helped our city get the streets plowed, get them plowed clearly. So appreciate everybody who went that extra step to make sure the vehicles were off the street and Tom could get done what he needed to get done.
Okay.
So.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we're back to our process for appointing a alderperson from District 6.
Number 7 under finance, is that?
Kathy.
Is that taken?
Did I miss it?
That's scratched.
That's done.
Oh,
Are you doing appointments?
Okay. Yeah, that was scratched. Randy.
okay.
What about mayoral recommendations?
Number what?
11, communications from the mayor.
I'm going to wait. I'd like to wait on that until we see if we appoint someone tonight. Well, welcome, folks. I think the council here, we need some discussion. I think we all received a memo from Catherine concerning our process that we're going to use tonight, and it's your process that's going to be used. One item that we have in there, I think the first memo that I sent out to you, I said 3. That was incorrect. We have to have 4. So we have to have 4 votes for one person in order to qualify as a appointment, unless we suspend the rules. So that's something, food for thought, if you want to do that. I can see where possibly we can go 2-1-1 or 2-2-1, and we can't get to 4. So that's for discussion beforehand. I'd like to try and have that discussion before rather than after. because that way we can, everyone can agree ahead of time. Any thoughts on that?
Are we able to see if we can come to a consensus? I mean, we don't have to decide right now to suspend the rules, right? We can work at it, and if we can't come to a consensus, then make a decision like that?
I'll just make one note. We need 4 votes to suspend the rules, so.
Well, could we agree to have essentially an instant runoff for those candidates who receive, let's say, the top 3 vote getters will stay, and we'll decide between those 3 instead of between 6.
Okay.
Does that seem acceptable to the council?
Yeah.
What happens if we get 2, 1, 1, 1?
Might have to redo the vote.
Huh?
You might have to just take, there might be several candidate or applicants who,
Sure.
then you would have to redo the vote.
And I think that we ought to find out what the lay of the land is before we try to
Figure out.
Okay.
figure
All
it
right,
all out.
I wanted to bring that up.
Oh, it's a good idea.
Because it would be nice to be able to appoint someone tonight, but if we can't reach an agreement, that's okay too.
I thought we were gonna have paper
We are.
ballots.
We will, they're all set to go.
Excellent.
And have we decided what we're doing with the applicant who's stuck in traffic?
We're
As I
hoping that it
understand.
lasts long enough for that particular person to get here.
Talk real slow.
Or real
I don't-
fast, depending on your strategy.
What's the council's pleasure?
Everybody gets 6 minutes now.
Well,
What's the council's pleasure?
we've run out of other agenda items. We can't talk about anything except agenda items, so.
No, but I guess what I'm wondering is the council determined to make a decision tonight with the candidates who are here?
Yes.
Or would we,
Well,
traffic is stopped in the Twin
I
Cities,
think
that's all I'm
there is
saying.
an
It's-
applicant, and it is unusual circumstances. I think you should consider, at least if he doesn't make it, postponing and allowing him to be part of the process.
I don't think that's fair to the rest of us.
We're being unfair to remain.
Well, without him being here, you can still vote for it. I mean, if you look based on the resume, if you wanted to vote that way, I mean,
I guess we'll see what.
Can we see when we go through the interview process?
Sure.
Maybe he'll show up and then
Yeah.
rediscuss that.
okay. One of the things I thought we would do, and unless the council doesn't want, we would draw to see the order that we have them appear. And then also, we tried to shorten the questions when we had 8 people applying. We shortened the questions, but you can ask, obviously, any question you want.
Well,
Within reason.
relating to the position they are applying for, let's say.
Yes, a legal question, let's put that.
Okay.
Just one for the public. Jeffrey Tursty did email today and indicate that he was no longer interested, just in case there was any questions as to why he's not here.
Any other thoughts or comments? We ready to roll? So Devin, why don't you have our applicants draw?
And this will just be the order. You go up and.
I don't have a cell phone. You want to go? Should we go?
Fantasy football.
Maybe Devin can go.
Maybe I can. I don't have any.
You do.
I can call. Okay.
Just to check his status.
Al said that whoever the first candidate is can go ahead and introduce yourself and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Rich Vanslow, and I reside at 1525 North Ridge Drive in the 6th District of the City of Hudson. My family and I moved to Hudson 24 years ago from Chicago, Illinois, and we've enjoyed every minute of our life here. And that's one of the reasons that I'm interested in becoming the 6th Alderman. I worked for 3M for 34 years and retired about 8 years ago. And during that career, I held positions in manufacturing and sales and marketing, and was also sales marketing manager for 3M in Europe for the personal care division of 3M Company. When I look at concerns for the City of Hudson, or interests for the City of Hudson, as far as the 6 districts goes, I'm interested in reserving some of the green space or some of the area mainly north of the YMCA, which is now natural land, in trying to maintain that land as it is. I have an interest in keeping it that way. I'm concerned, or not concerned, but I'm also interested in the Carmichael corridor and what the impact of that's going to be on the city, and also what that will do to the traffic and the flow into the 6th district of the city of Hudson. The empty store, obviously, on 2nd Street is just a concern from the appearance of the city, and for people who come into the city. It certainly doesn't look well as you enter the city, and if there's anything that the city can do to help that develop, I would be interested in moving forward with something like that. The other thing that I think is extremely critical at this point in time, and I think the city council has done a very good job of it, is cost control. With the state of the economy and the state of the finances in the state of Wisconsin, the federal deficit, and each of these areas in trouble financially, eventually the local governments are going to lose funding. And if the city is not prepared and healthy financially, that could be a problem. And so I looked at the budget that you passed, and I've seen what you've done cost-cutting wise as a city council, and I think it's been very good. I think it's commendable, and I'd like to help participate in controlling those costs. So that's who I am. Those are my interests, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Vanslo?
Do you want them to ask us now or later, or what?
Well, I think we could, it's up to you guys, whatever you want.
Hold off till we've heard
Okay,
everybody.
we'll hold off.
Good evening. I'd like to first thank the council for taking the time to listen and evaluate all of the applicants tonight for the alderperson position for the 6th district. I think it's commendable that you have a sincere interest in having good representation, equal representation across all areas of the city of Hudson. My name is Michael Lembert. My wife Adrian and I came to Hudson in 1992, moving here from Germantown, Wisconsin. We have enjoyed our life here in Hudson, and specifically living at 2109 Chestnut Drive, and enjoyed the community and the citizenship that we've enjoyed here. Both Adrian and I have attended the University of Wisconsin, Stout. Adie is currently a teacher at the St. Croix Central School District at the elementary school in Roberts. I am a senior plastics engineer, and I am currently a consultant to the injection molding industry. Our two sons have gone to school at Hudson Elementary, the middle school, and graduated from Hudson High School. Besides my education in industrial technology from Stout, I've also served a tool and die apprenticeship. I have been an engineering manager for 2 manufacturing concerns with revenues in excess of $100 million annually. I've also owned a small business, a tool and die business, employing 26 tool makers, and also owned a product development firm employing a combination 10 individuals, both design and engineers. My background is engineering. What I bring to the council would be an engineering expertise, a look at issues and questions with a lean manufacturing background, and also following quality assurance standards. I would be very interested in fulfilling the position and becoming the next alderperson for the 6th district. Again, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak and giving myself the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Wallers. I currently live at the corner of Vine and 12th Street. Have lived there for the last couple of years. Moved to Hudson in 1999. Recently remarried. I have 5 grown kids. My oldest will graduate from West Point in May. 2 others attend Hudson High School, and the 2 youngest live outstate. I'm a 26-year employee at Anderson Corporation, and have held different positions within the company, from management to service. I'm currently in a production role at this point. Excuse me. Honorably discharged from the military. I don't have any real immediate concerns with how the city is functioning today. And it would be quite an ordeal for somebody to step into a position like this and get caught up. The biggest thing I guess I would like to see is our community getting more involved with what goes on in this room. You're making decisions that'll impact us for years to come, and there isn't a lot of representation from the community. I'm not going to stand here and tell you I have the fix for that, but I would like to see better participation from the general community. I appreciate the opportunity to become a alderperson, and again, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone as well for this opportunity. I think it's remarkable that the number of applicants for this position, and I think it's a healthy sign in our community that there's this number of people that are interested in this position. My name is Leif Halverson. I've been a resident of Hudson for 15 years. I grew up in Ellsworth, moved to Eau Claire after graduating, spent about 5 years there, and went from there to Hastings. I lived in Prescott for a few years. When I moved to Hudson in 1995, it was the first time that I was struck with an immediate sense of community, and honestly was welcomed and felt strongly that this was the place that I wanted to raise my family and stay here. The role that I see the city council playing is to foster a community that's inviting, that will bring individuals to our town and make them want to stay here. Recently there was a referendum passed regarding temporary signs and how they'll be placed. It remains to be seen how that will play out. I've listened to both sides of the story, arguments either way on that. Personally, a rather more ominous presence right now is the proliferation of for sale signs that I'm seeing throughout the town, and I'm concerned about that and wondering what, if anything, the city has plans as far as dealing with the housing market as it is. And I wouldn't expect an answer right away. It's a far, broad-reaching issue. Other immediate concerns, I've got zoning issues within my district and how they affect the members there. Right now, the safety issue that I have is with the unprecedented amount of snowfall we've experienced. There's a lot of intersections in the town you pull up and can't see around the big piles of snow that are there, and I'm wondering what we can do to alleviate that. I've been working for the past 15 years in City of Hudson, I've watched the company that I work for grow from 6 individuals to over 70 now. We were acquired. It's a railroad signal engineering firm that I work for. When I learned of the Gateway Corridor Coordination Plan that's in development, that seems like be a tremendous opportunity and challenge, fascinating challenges for determining the possible transportation options for the future. So I look forward to listening in and taking part. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Halverson.
Well, good evening. My name is Greg Ewig. I live at 2510 Somerset Knoll, and I just wanted to thank you, Mayor, council members, and the fellow applicants for this opportunity to come up here and speak with you. I've lived in Hudson since 1999, in District 6, actually most of that time, and I currently work in St. Paul, Minnesota for the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. My past experience in actually a organizational stint was with the St. Croix County Economic Development Corporation, including a term as its president. You'd asked three basic questions of each applicant, so I was going to kind of focus on attempting to answer those three. To begin with, some of the community concerns, I have to echo some of the comments that our prior applicants had mentioned. I think they really focused around taxes and investment, the riverfront amenities, and our downtown business, including signage, and just general business conditions downtown. To your credit, I think we're a well-run city. That's part of the reason I'd like to join on the city council or the common council, and really the credit goes not only just to the people sitting around the table, but to the folks sitting in the audience here, and all those who make Hudson their home. So really, what my goal would be, or my goal in representing District 6 would be listening to our constituent concerns, participating and hopefully continuing the excellence that the City of Hudson has exhibited in attacking these issues that we've had facing us, and I think they're going to be bigger as we go forward. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody in this room, but we have. If you look around, one of the applicants had mentioned the for sale signs. We have foreclosed homes in the community that we're going to have to wrestle with. We're going to have, obviously, there's continued cost pressures on the city and communities that we're going to have to wrestle with, be it, everything from our health insurance costs going up to the reduction in revenues because of this recession. So I again just wanted to reiterate, I really appreciate the opportunity you guys are giving us to address you this evening, and look forward to standing ready for questions after this is over. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I want to thank you for your time and consideration tonight. My name is Mary Claire Olson Potter. 3 names wasn't enough, so I thought I'd add another one to that. I live at 708 Myrtle Street here in Hudson. I am currently the Business Development Director at Ellerby Beckett, an AECom company in Minneapolis, where I've worked for the past 3 years. We are a global full-service architecture engineering firm with our local focus on healthcare, data centers, sports, higher education, and corporate work. Prior to Ellerby Beckett, I was Executive Vice President at the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce, and for 7 years, I was President of the Hudson Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau. With over 17 years running and working for chambers of commerce, I've had the opportunity to work with a wide range and a variety of people. During those years, I have worked to build consensus among members regarding issues facing businesses and the community, anywhere from small retail shops to large manufacturing firms. I represented the interests of members ranging from 500 to over 1,200 members, similar to a city council member representing the voters. As I think about Hudson and any, community concerns, I think every city right now has challenges, both financially, trying to meet the services of growing communities, but I believe that Hudson is in a very good place right now. The growth has been planned and strategic and has been a benefit to both the businesses and the residents. Longtime businesses and new businesses have created jobs even during these challenging times. Hudson also continues to gain recognition with expanded restaurants and shops and housing options. This recognition locally and regionally has also helped our economic development efforts. As I think about the District 6, I think because of the great blend that District 6 has with the historic area and then also the new developments, I think we just want to continue to be strategic in our growth and in expansion. We want to be able to continue to provide services to all residents in a smart, fiscally responsible way, the way you, the City Council, and the Mayor and staff have worked hard to ensure that this takes place. Why do I desire to represent District 6? I love Hudson and all that it has to offer. I have worked and lived here for over 14 years. When I ran the Hudson Chamber, I worked in partnership with the Mayor and the City Council, and I'd like to be a part of that again. I understand the challenges of working for many different bosses, as I did when I ran the Chambers of Commerce from 500 members to 1,200 members, and I worked to build consensus with a wide variety of people. This position needs someone who can hit the ground running, and I can do that. With my 7 years' experience working with the Hudson City Council, serving on the Hudson Board of Appeals, and my work on the Plan Commission has given me great training and experience to represent District 6. I have the skills, desire, and energy to fulfill this position, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you for your consideration.
Council, what's your pleasure?
Has the other person arrived or not?
I don't believe so.
Can we do a phone interview?
I'm not sure if that particular person driving in the car would want to be.
They could text the answer.
Should we text the?
I'm,
Just
Skype.
It would be worth a phone call.
I got a hold of him, but he was in Minneapolis 20 minutes ago. Or I mean St. Paul. He was in St. Paul 20 minutes ago.
It's a parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we should move forward.
I'd like to ask a question or two.
Sure.
Of those who are here.
Yes. Is that? I think
is that okay if we ask some questions?
Sure.
Even though we don't have one of the applicants here.
Sure.
Of the 6 of you who have applied, thank you very much. There's obviously a depth of talent here. So one of my concerns is the commitment to the future of the job, because it can be demanding. Of you 6, just a show of hands, please, how many of you have filed to continue in the 6th district seat in the spring election? 2, thank you. Mr. Hudson and
Do you have papers of anyone else?
Yes, those 2 individuals have filed declaration of candidacy. They have not submitted their papers yet.
Thank you. Mr. Vanslow and Mr. Helms.
Those are the only ones I'm aware of.
I have one more question. Sure. About somebody else. Go ahead if you have.
Go ahead and ask your question. We can go around to the other.
Well, Mary Claire, you're going to think this is unfair, and I'm sorry for that. We've known each other for a number of years, and as I mentioned, the job can be demanding, and there's a lot of meetings to attend. And you've been on the Plan Commission, and you've not always been able to make those meetings. That's once a month. You're going to be, as a city council member, at least 4 meetings a month, 2 here, and then likely 2 committee designations, and sometimes special meetings. Do you find that would be a problem?
Would you? On that kind of a question, yeah.
I don't think that my attendance has been a challenge. I mean, and maybe Denny can speak to that if need be. I know that several Plan Commission members are not able to consistently make every meeting. So I do think that my attendance has been fairly good. And I also think I was very active during the whole comprehensive plan section, which was very critical as we did the strategic plan update for the comprehensive plan. And there were several additional meetings for that, which I was a participant of. So I don't view that as a challenge. And my job is flexible in terms of need be, if there's a morning meeting or something like that. And like others here, I mean, I left very, very early to ensure that I was going to be on time tonight.
Thank you for that. Yeah, the reason I asked that question, Mary Claire, is that, no, that's okay. One of these interview processes a few years ago, one of the interviewees said, I don't think I can make all the meetings. And, so I think I had to ask the question, see what your answer would be.
But I wouldn't have applied if I didn't feel I could make the commitment.
Sure. Okay.
Is it the rest of you guys' intent to file for the position come April?
I didn't understand that was a prerequisite.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
I'm just wondering about who's already thought far enough ahead to make that commitment.
I have a question for Mr. Vanslo. You had a question about the Carmichael corridor. And, that's it's been a contentious, for as long as I've been on the council, issue about what to develop. Do we annex land in there, et cetera, and then what do we develop? I'd like to kind of get your thought on would you like to see business up there? What would you see on the east side of Carmichael?
Yeah, on the east side of Carmichael. At this point in time, and I certainly don't have all of the information I should have to make an intelligent decision, but based on what I know right now, I would say, the east side of Carmichael, probably for the first quarter mile, half mile would be definitely retail or commercial property. On the west side of Carmichael, I believe that would be residential, at least as I see it. If you look at the location of some of the lots, if property was to be bought around the golf course in that area, they'd make great townhouses. I mean, the view would be outstanding up there, and a developer would have a tremendous amount of interest, I think, in maybe doing something like that. And then when it comes out into the Vine Street area or County UU, there might be another strip mall in that area or something like that. I'm not sure. I really don't know. But the real concern then becomes the traffic flow, and obviously the Department of Transportation has a plan to alleviate traffic at Cooley and Carmichael by routing it through the golf course and coming out by Culver's. I believe that's a plan. And I don't know all the specifics of that, but it's certainly something that needs to be looked at. Because Cooley and Carmichael, if you put commercial on the east side of the street, is going to be way too congested to handle traffic.
The whole idea of that commercial business helps reduce taxes in the city, and besides housing developments. Okay, thank you.
Can I just say, I guess I'd like it if, and like when you asked your question about who's planning to run, I'd like it if when we ask a question, if all the candidates would answer it. I'm uncomfortable with the notion of singling individuals out.
Okay, you have a specific question that individual?
Scott asked mine. I was curious who else was.
The only two that have declaration of candidacies are the two individuals I mentioned. There may be others that have taken the papers out, but they have not yet filed.
And I know that Mark Probonic got signatures this weekend, so he's planning to run as well.
But you should inform him he needs to file the declaration of candidacy prior. He's supposed to do that prior to signatures.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear all about development in Hudson on the east side of Carmichael, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, I mean, if it's.
We
can ask everyone about their availability for meetings.
Sure. I think we need to make a distinction, though. You're talking about the east side of Carmichael Road, which is not in the city of Hudson. It's the town.
Well, right. That's why I said it. If the potential comes to be
in other words, annex it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the talk of developing on that side,
sure.
on that corner.
I think that's important for everybody to know that.
Yeah, I just thought we needed to be
it's
fair.
Not the city of Hudson.
Let them know.
Right. I said annex.
Yeah. You did.
What was do you want everyone to answer that?
What's your thought on commercial development on the east side?
Okay.
Start with one and go through, or that way you suggest.
Okay, I think Mr. Vanslo answered. Would you? We'll just go down the roll that way, and then we'll go back the other way. How's that sound? Or we'll keep going or if we're going to answer everybody's question.
Well, as Mr. Vanslo said, obviously, we don't have the information that you do to be able to make a solid decision. Here's what my concerns would be. Number one, how's it going to affect District 6? One of the things that I would be concerned about is our transportation system, our roadway system. How are we going to access into District 6? Are we going to be exposing our residents to a greater potential for accident? Really and truly, the land itself is going to be commercial. I can't see too much right at the corner of the interstate highway as it being applicable to anything else. As you go north, certainly we could seriously look at residential. We need to also maintain green space. When we get up into District 6 and the property around the county courthouse, there's been discussions about that. How is the mass transit system going to fit into this? These are all questions that I don't think we have the solutions to. And we also have to be able to attract the type of businesses into that area that are going to be willing to invest the money and get a return on that investment. So we have to have the population here to be able to support that as well. If the population isn't here, then it's going to have a reasonable access from citizens coming from the Minnesota side of the river, as well as those coming from the eastern side. So without that in place, nothing's going to happen in that section. I would like to address the question of being a candidate for the city council. I did not have any plans of being a candidate for the city council. I have never been on a city council before. I don't even know if I could possibly function properly. This gives me an opportunity to learn a little bit about my interactions and how councils work. It may not be the right job for me, but I'm certainly willing to give it a long shot and give it a try and give it my very best. I have worked in boards before, more on a private sector than I have in a public sector. So I would really enjoy the opportunity to work in the public sector. This gives me an opportunity to do that and evaluate myself and my performance.
Can I follow that up? Given that the seat is
That's a
up
question.
given that the seat is up for election this spring, and that if you are going to run, papers would be due January 4th.
That's a very difficult situation to be in. The reason I'm here is that my friends and neighbors thought that I would be a very good candidate for this position. And I had no reason to not agree. In the past, it's been a time issue. And not being able to commit to committee meetings and commit to the board meetings, to the council meetings, I've stepped back from it. It's important that you be here. I consider that something that you can't pass that on to somebody else. It's your responsibility, and I take that very strongly. I have the time today, and now I have to find out if I can perform.
Thank you. Mary Clark?
At the Plan Commission meetings, we spent a lot of time when we were doing the comprehensive plan talking about Carmichael and development in that whole area. So there's been a lot of discussion about that. And what I'm confident in is the whole 14 years that I've lived in Hudson, Hudson has grown and developed in a very strategic, smart, planned way. And I'm convinced that we will continue to do that moving forward. And if that means to annex that property in, if it gets developed, if it's commercial, residential, I know that we will continue to address these issues in a smart fashion, just as we've experienced. And so I think it will continue to move forward in a positive way. But I think, like the others said, we don't have all of that information. I mean, being on the Plan Commission, I have had the opportunity to have more of that information, but I still think it needs to be strategic and planned out for that area. Was there another question? No, I think I addressed the one that, yes, I would be interested in filing papers for the candidacy by January 4th.
To Alderman Morissette's question about development on the east side of Carmichael, obviously annexation is a huge issue. So I think it's an opportune time to start being planful about the development along that corridor, given kind of the pause in the commercial real estate market. But I echo a lot of what other folks are saying here about. You can certainly see a commercial corridor going up on that, if we kind of ran the scenario out of development on the east side. And I think there's something to be said about, looking to the comprehensive plan to guide our decisions, obviously, and taking into account quite a bit of open space that I think, as we mature as a city, are going to need going forward. So sort of balancing both interests in that respect. To your question, actually, there's two questions that I heard. I kind of head nodded on one of them. I'm able to make meetings. I expect to make all the meetings, and I have not yet filed for the District 6 seat. It's my intention to do so. But I think those are the three questions that were out on the table. So, any others? Let me know.
Thank you.
With respect to the development over there near Carmichael, I've got some friends that live down Greenbrier, down right in that neighborhood, and it's been a hot item for them for years now. And if you'll drive through there, you'll see boarded up windows on a house down in there. And but my friends have continued to renovate and make their property a nice spot for them. But I do see the potential and reasoning there. It needs to be more of a commercial site, and I would trust that those on the Planning Commission would be making those decisions and gathering the information they need to do that properly. Speaking at the green space up in that area as well, I would like to see that developed, and green space in particular for District 6. I'm quite excited by this is a different area, but Burton Field there's a potential for renovation and changes that are happening down there. Now, understand that there was a form to fill out. A survey came as part of our utility bill, and my wife was able to go out online and look at the perspectives there for Burton, what was planned, and was able to give some feedback and fill through there. Unfortunately, when I went out to the site, it had already been pulled down, and I couldn't look at any of that information. Now, it seems to me that would be another great way to gather input from the public. If you had something through the government, the website, the city's website, to get more input from the public on that. And as far as making meetings, the reason I'm here is I have children. I've got 4 kids from 7 to 19 years of age. My eldest daughter is down in River Falls. They're all in the school system now, and so I'm able to commit more time to things that I'm passionate about, and I would absolutely be able to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
The first issue with the expansion east of Carmichael, I think that, I guess in my opinion, it seems like it's inevitable. I know that I've spoke to people who fear that Hudson is going to be the next Woodbury, and the thought of expanding to that causes a little angst. The council has done a fantastic job to this point with the expansion up in the industrial park, putting retail on that corner. We've got a whole strip mall that was built on the corner of Carmichael and Hanley that's going on a couple years old now and still is unoccupied. And there's concerns about unoccupied buildings downtown. Unfortunately, with the economy the way it is, it's going to have to be pretty, searching for the right word, but a methodical process going forward. As far as meetings, I've been on the fire department for 8 years. That itself takes some dedication. My wife is a EMT on Hudson Ambulance as well as Baldwin Ambulance. And when we both work at Anderson's, and when we're not at the stick factory, we're here in town. So, thank you.
Thanks. Council, any other questions for any of our candidates?
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't have any questions. I don't know if anyone else does.
But-
I guess I would like to suggest that we try to get a hold of the other applicant.
Okay.
At least by phone, give him a chance if he wants to, if he doesn't,
You mean to be interviewed?
or find out where he's at, and if we
Yeah, I
can
would have
adjourn
different-
briefly till,
We'll have to, well, let's find out where he is.
I'll make the call. I called last time.
We ask more questions?
Sure.
Well, we have not asked the one question that used to get asked all the time, which is, do you have any questions of us?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. Opens up a lot of conversation.
Are you gonna ask? Is that what you're
Maybe I'll ask the question.
Here, go, ready?
Do you have any questions of us?
Yeah. Actually, I was appointed my first term on the council over a decade ago, and that was the question that opened up conversation for everybody, because it got kind of free-ranging after a while. It has to pertain to your appointment to the seat, but
What is your ideal candidate? What are your characteristics?
Now are you asking all of us?
What are you looking for?
how much time you got?
How would you define your ideal candidate?
Well, that's,
I don't think we can.
Catherine's shaking her head.
yeah.
We've got the applicants, and I think it's got to be relating to city
Yeah, yeah,
business and
yeah.
I would think it's
issues
related
regarding
to,
serving as a council member.
Yeah.
right.
I would have to say, my opinion is we have no bad applicants here tonight.
But
It's not in my district.
So we're Woodbury, and that traffic is opening up. So we figured 15 minutes.
we opened the floor up to questions of us, which weren't related to what are we looking for.
Okay.
What do you see as being the most pressing issue in the next 6 months for the council?
Our budget, there is no shared revenues. Hudson's never had a big share of shared revenues.
We this year, I think we're at about 180,000.
Yeah.
10 years ago, we were at 220,000. So River Falls, for example, gets 2.2 million, something like that.
So
So
the balancing of the budget is being.
It's what we did at a local level is what we accomplished through not relying on the state's
Right.
share.
Well, you get penalized for it. By being self-sufficient, you get penalized, because then the state says, oh, you don't need any money, so we're not gonna give you any. You know, I mean, you know, the trick is, we send the money off to Madison, and then they're supposed to send it back, and, oops,
Yeah,
you know.
it doesn't all come back.
But what are the major sources of revenue for the city?
You know, I think that, if I may take that, just part of that question, because I think that there's a general misunderstanding, because people are just getting their tax bills tomorrow. And,
Yeah, exactly.
and so I want to duck and cover now. But the tax bill you get in the city of Hudson, only 25 cents of every dollar of that tax dollar goes to the city of Hudson. The rest of it, half of it goes to the school district, and the rest goes to the county and various other agencies. So we only working with 25 cents out of every dollar. And I think that it's important that people know that, because they think, well, we're giving you so much money. Well, we're getting just a part of that.
And we are the piano player, because we send out the bills.
Yeah, exactly. We're the Cassandra, we're the bearer of the bad news, because the bills come from City Hall. And so that's why I'm sure people have that mistaken apprehension. Our revenue comes from property taxes. Well, Devin knows this much,
Right.
he can break down the
Other than
percentages.
property taxes, the bulk of it, we get a couple $100,000 shared revenue, about 700,000 from transportation aids, and that's based on the miles of highway, what highways we maintain for the state. The county also gets funds for the things they maintain. Building inspection fees, which vary. I mean, they were $300,000 to $400,000 in the early last decade. We've had to lower that to 100,000, but licenses and permits are a small share of it.
But property taxes.
The property taxes are the.
Yes.
There has not been an effective mill rate increase. Well, I've been here 10 years since we've been here, so they've kept the mill rate the same for the city portion, with the exception of 1 year when they hired a police officer. So the council has done a good job at keeping that level.
A ballpark figure that might help you is that this is $1 billion corporation in assets, and our operating budget is
9.2, isn't it?
9.2 now?
Yeah.
And that includes our debt service.
Yeah. Well, yes, not counting debt service, things like 8.7 or something like that. So less than $10 million a year. We're a town of 11,000, now 900 people, according to the latest figures from the state.
No, we won't. That's just the state of Wisconsin. We won't get our census figures until early next year. They announce the state because they have to determine the congressional allocation by the end of the year. That's all they'll announce tomorrow.
And are the congressional districts chosen by the state?
No.
The process works is that they get the information to the county. The county sets its supervisory districts, then goes to the municipalities who set their awards. It then goes back to the state, and then the state sets their assembly, senate districts, and then, so it's kind of a step process. Actually, the congressional districts are the last thing that's set.
Yeah, that's set in Washington. That process is about to start.
May I ask one more question
Yes.
of the candidates? I'm curious of the candidates, what you think we as a city do well and something that you think we could improve on. And when I say the city, I'm talking about city operations and us as a governing body.
I don't know, why don't we start over here on this end, we'll go that way this time. How's that sound?
Well, I think that the council works very well as a team. What was the second part of the question?
What do you think the city does well, and then what do you think the city could improve on? Services or
Well,
operations?
being on fire and my wife being an EMT, I think we've got some of the best equipment around, quite frankly. We're pretty proud of the equipment that we have here and we're able to work with. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that you could do better. I think that in my comments earlier, getting the public more involved in what's going on in the city affairs, I think would be huge.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Halverson.
As far as what the city council's doing well and the city itself, with the exponential growth that Hudson has experienced since I moved to town, I think that's been an admirable job that everyone has done as far as with schools, students, making the expansions that were required there within the school districts. I think that's been very well handled. And as far as improvements go, I think I'd like to see more, as getting back to bringing people into our community. One of the largest untapped resources that we have is right in our backyard, the river down there, and one of the top 10 scenic riverways in the nation. And what can we do to capitalize? I don't know if that's the right word, but to utilize the St. Croix River down there to its full potential while maintaining the natural beauty of the river itself.
Thank you.
Well, I think primarily you guys do a very good job at of making adjustments as you need. You're obviously, it's a, just listening to the conversation here about the kind of stability of the mill rate, I think is a testament to, you guys coming up with some quite creative approaches to trying to maintain your cost structure. So I think that's what you do quite well, and hopefully that will continue. And I would have to say, as a practical matter, I wish the city would be able to plow my street without putting a 5-foot tall mound in front of my driveway, but I know that's not in the cards. But in all seriousness, I would echo again what he stole my thunder. Actually, I think the river is a great asset. I'm impatient because I think you guys have been doing great work in improving it. It's been a long road, but over the 10 or 11 years that I've been living in Hudson, it's been improving each year. So the only thing I would suggest is I'm impatient with that continuing. It's really a great amenity and it's improving dramatically. And I think those are the major points that I think you're trying to bring up. So thank you.
Thank you.
There are a number of things that I would say that I could comment on that I think are going very well. One would be you have shown great fiscal responsibility for a very long time. The growth that we have seen has been strategic and well planned out. You are supportive to the business community, which is critical as we want to create jobs, which helps our tax base. You've tackled a lot of challenging issues very well. In terms of improvement, I think I echo a couple things. I think we want to continue to turn the city towards the river instead of facing away from the river. I think there's some great opportunities there. I think the improvements that have been made on the toll bridge have been very beneficial, and the traffic out there has just increased greatly. And the other one was snowplow my street a little bit sooner. But that's all good, though. So.
The first time I drove through Hudson was 1973, and it was a snowy evening, and I was headed up to Birch Park to do some skiing. And as I was driving through downtown Hudson, it was dark and dreary, and I asked myself, who would ever want to live in this town? In 1992, when we were evaluating where we wanted to live, there was no question about where we wanted to live. The town has become much brighter. The development along the river was significant. Since 1992, we've seen nothing but improvements. All of them, both commercial development and then government development, have been outstanding. And I think the commercial development is a reflection of the council and how it approaches business and attracts outside capital. It would be a concern to keep that flow coming into the city. It expands the tax base and helps to maintain the tax revenues. What I'd be curious about is the interaction of the council with the education committees or the education systems and with the county government. We're all very closely related together here, and interaction between those different departments is critical to success of the community itself.
Thank you.
I think the budgetary process, the spending controls, cost controls have been exceptionally well done throughout the past couple of years based on the budgets that I've seen. If I look at something that might need some improvement, I don't know the occupancy rate of the industrial park, but I'd certainly be interested in trying to make business come into Hudson and filling up the industrial park so that we have a higher residency rate out there to help our tax bases.
Okay. Mary, any questions?
No. No.
Lee?
I I was gonna springboard off one comment, which is a little out of line, but I will anyhow. I was thinking, boy, if we didn't have all the cars off the street, how much longer it would have taken to plow the streets.
All right. Randy?
Well, I guess I come back to more development and the concern of, everything's, you're focused on downtown, but as District 6, you're kind of way up on the hill, and the other parts of town, Hudson is one town, one city. It's not downtown and it's not uptown. I think some people that have been involved with this business community has always tried to make that notion go away, because we're one community, not downtown, not uptown. Some of you said that you would focus more of it all down here, but what about up on the hill? I mean, those businesses need to survive just as much as the businesses downtown. I guess I'd be concerned. Where my question is in that, I mean, do you see development up there as well? And I think you've already kind of answered that, but I'm concerned about the focus always being downtown, because there's a whole nother part of us uptown, as I say. So I don't know if you had any thoughts about that. Not much of a question, but.
All right. I don't know if there was a question there, but
yeah, it didn't sound like a question.
Scott, any other questions that you have for anyone or any of the candidates?
No, actually, I do not, but I thought relative to what Randy just said, it was a brilliant opportunity for somebody to take the initiative and go to the microphone and say, well, I'm going to talk about that. And I wish somebody had done that. Not too late now, lady.
Oh, let's hear it. I mean, we only got time.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
When I ran the Chamber of Commerce, one of the critical points for us was to market and talk about Hudson as a whole city. So as critical is for us to have a strong downtown. It's historic, it's charming, we've tried to maintain that, and it's critical for us to have the district that is up off of I-94. So we are, as Randy said, we are one community. We did 2 different committees, one that was representing downtown, one was representing up on the hill, so that all voices could be heard, so people didn't think we were just focused on one area and not focused on the other. So we worked very hard to bring people together, and we were able to bring that consensus and do some co-marketing, which benefited the entire part of Hudson, because our goal is to get people to Hudson, the entire city of Hudson. If they went to one part, we'd always encourage them to go to another part, and vice versa. And we worked with the businesses community to help them understand if people go and they ask for directions to a place, that their staff are trained so they can give them directions to all the different benefits that Hudson has to offer.
Thank you.
Lori? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to your point, I mean, it's a valid observation, but I think, based on my experience with the county and on the Economic Development Corporation board, I mean, really, you look at the whole, and you obviously, you think of some of the crown jewels that are within the city. That's not to say or diminish what's in District 6, but it is, I mean, the riverfront and downtown is obviously an amenity that we're all proud of. And on the point of District 6, I think, the at this stage, primarily we're interested in making sure that, I mean, we have this opportunity potentially of a big tract of land around the county government center, what it's going to be, what it's going to look like in the future. And so I think we're a lot more in the conversation stage and figuring out what direction we're going to go, more than anything else. So I mean, it's your excellent point, and I wish I would have thought of it before you raised it. So that was spot on. Thanks.
Go ahead.
I'm going to float a balloon here. To make the community a single community, I think it would be a very good idea to have a transportation system that would loop the downtown area with the uptown area so that people can get to these commerce centers easily and without hassle and without creating any additional traffic in those areas. It would be a very simple loop to put together, And I think it could be very easily sponsored by the businesses both downtown and up on the hill.
I think what needs to be overcome with respect to that is the us and them theory that goes on with that, and having two different committees study on that's good to get the input there. That said, I think there's evidence of events in the city that do bring people in to that area coming up in February, right? Hot Air Fair. There's just more balloons floating there.
Very good, very good.
But that brings folks in to that part of town where they normally wouldn't be, other than football games, that kind of thing. But yeah, the potential there for more. I think we need to study the positive things that are occurring now up there. Too often in council meetings and other meetings that I'll watch on public access, there'll be negative input, and I'd like to be more of a positive voice there. And it's contrary to studies show that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's not necessarily where it needs to go.
Okay. I think someone just came in.
I think Mr. P just did. I apologize to you all. I'm trying very hard not to cough while you're talking. I put off starting the antibiotics until after tonight's meeting. So.
Great.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for holding all of this.
Yeah.
I was going to make a comment about 10 years in your gray hair, and I won't do that now. What's that?
3.5-hour ride from Minneapolis.
He's right here. He's be here shortly.
I don't know how, a different kind of question. So you've watched, assuming that you all have watched, presumably, that's the word I'm looking for. I will let them go.
You're on, Mark.
I'm on? Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's too bad. I want to, first of all, thank everybody's indulgence for the lateness. Unfortunately, unlike the Chicago Bears coming out of Minneapolis, I did not have bus or police escort. So I was stuck for now, about 2.5 hours in traffic. So anyway, so where do we begin, I guess?
We want you to give a little background about yourself, 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then we had the 3 questions that you had. And if you don't have them, if you want to address those, do you have those?
I don't have them in front of me.
I'll give them to you. And just a little background on yourself, and then some of those particular questions.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, first of all, my name is Mark Probonic. I live at 1005 Cardinal Circle. Our family has lived here for 14 years. I work right now in downtown Minneapolis, no doubt. But we have been, our family has been quite involved in the community, as I'm sure most of the people that have been sitting here tonight. Mostly we've been involved in the arts. Our children have been also involved in the Historical Society. And our daughter right now is currently representing Hudson
on Rotary Exchange over in Spain. As far as my community involvement, no doubt over the years I have been involved in the public discourse over public policy. I have been a candidate twice for local office. So I know what it's like to be involved in debate, go over policy analysis. I have gone door to door. I have, maybe like a cliche, I have actually sat in people's living rooms. I have talked to them about their concerns. And likewise, I have been very open and frank as to my opinions. Well, I did that twice, and then just to let you know, unfortunately because of my schedule this morning, I didn't get a chance to turn it in, but I do have my signatures, which I went and got this weekend. So once again, I went out in the cold and snow, talked to people, again, about what their concerns are in the 6th District. Again, I know everybody here has really good resumes, and I feel mine is no different. However, the reason why I am running is because I believe I can give special insight to the people of the 6th District on how public policy will affect them. As I said, I have done this before. I am not shy about being involved in intellectually honest debate. Also, not only here locally have I been involved, but as I noted on my resume, I have been published both internationally and nationally when it comes to the economic effects of public policy. So I feel like I'm very well versed as to how what we do here, because it's not resumes, it's not our feelings, it comes down to what we do, how does it affect the people out there? That is the ultimate thing. And what is it that they want us to do for them? So I feel, standing here, I've had experience doing that. I'm a very frank and open person. I enjoy the debate. I also enjoy interacting with people. And I certainly look forward to, as everybody here, I'm sure, tries to look forward to making, Hudson not only the good place that it is, but even a better place tomorrow.
Okay.
Should we ask him the same questions that we asked the other candidates? And I tried to keep track of them, but I probably didn't.
As many as you can.
Well, the first question was, can you make all our meetings?
Yes. Well, tonight was not a very good demonstration, but yes, I do. As a matter of fact, my place of employment actually encourages this type of community involvement. So they are very good at working around schedules and that. So I have the full backing of my workplace to make all meetings.
Okay.
Well, if you kept track of them, you can keep on going unless somebody else wants.
Do you plan to run? And
Yes, I do. As I said, I do have my papers. Unfortunately, because of my schedule this morning, I was not able to drop them off. But I do have more than the necessary signatures to run for the ballot, to run in April.
One question we asked of the candidates was, what do you think we as a city do well? And when I say we as a city, I mean, the governing body of the council and the mayor, but also city operations. And then what do you think we could do better?
Well, the one thing that I think that you do very well, and I've always been impressed, is particularly the times that I've come before this council, and I think it's really what government's supposed to be about, is that the people are allowed to come here without speech permits, without permission, to come to this podium and address their grievances and make their comments without a stopwatch or any other boundaries put on them. Even tonight's meeting. I mean, this meeting in a lot of places would be held closed door. There wouldn't be cameras here. You wouldn't get a chance to hear what other people have to say. You wouldn't get a chance to hear your comments. This government down here, I've been always very impressed by the openness and the transparency. And to tell you the truth, this is what the people, when you go out and talk to them, this is what they want from their government. And so I think this city council does an excellent job in open government.
And what do you think we could do better?
Well, as far as doing better, I don't know, with the resources, of course, everybody complains about the roads. It's the weather, and we know we have a lot of things going. But I mean, obviously, is that the road system takes a lot of capital to keep up. It's always, it's never to anybody's pleasure. Traffic patterns obviously are involved in that. But again, maybe at some point in time, it takes a little more out of the box thinking. And again, those are things that I think that I can very well lend to District 6, because it's something that I pride myself on, is being able to think of alternatives outside of the norm. But again, I mean, we're at the mercy of weather as far as the roads. But I think that would be the biggest thing as far as roads, and sometimes the traffic patterns, particularly on Carmichael.
Which is a good segue to the next question. There was a question about development along the Carmichael corridor, and since it is close to District 6, if you have any thoughts about what that development might look like.
Well, it looks like to me along that road system. I mean, especially as you go south from UU, it's pretty. Outside of Faith Community Church and a couple houses, that corridor seems to be pretty well set in stone as to businesses going into it. So again, the problem that seems to be from the traffic standpoint is, one is timing of the lights, and is there a better way to do some of the intersections? It may be too late. The infrastructure's already there, and we may, you may just have to live with it. But I think, as far as the way that the businesses have been put in there and the way they've been spaced out and so forth, I don't really have any complaints. I think it's been done well. It's just a matter now, is there any way that we can improve upon it? And, I don't have that answer. But I think, that the biggest problem is the traffic flow through there. And the timing of the lights, which I'm sure you've heard about before. But I realize why they are done, but still, I know on busy days and that it can be somewhat aggravating.
Is there any that I'm missing?
Anyone else?
Mark? Okay, thank you.
Now, do we want to talk about the process, or should we have ballots available?
Well, I think the balloting is going to determine the process.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess the issue then was, let's pass out. We'll have 7 names on the ballot.
Well, Mr. Tursty's name is still on there.
Cross that off.
When we pass the ballots in, how many do you want us to? They should look uniform. Fold one fold. Vote for one and fold at one time.
Pardon?
So all ballots look the
Yes.
same.
Do you want a check, or you want a
you're
numerical?
telling-
No, just you're voting for one person.
So you just put a check against that name.
And then I guess we'll turn them into Devin, and he'll,
Let me know when you're ready.
Devin.
I'm too much of a thinker than you people, apparently. I don't know.
Ready?
Well, before we announce, I want to thank you folks for coming in to do this, because I know it's fine applicants, and I really appreciate the number that we had turned out, so thank you very much.
So do you just want me to announce the totals, or who voted for who, or
Totals.
just the totals?
Just totals, yeah.
Do you need a piece of paper, or you got
No,
one?
I got it. We have 2 votes for Mary Claire Potter, 1 vote for Leif Halverson, 1 vote for Mark Probanik, 1 vote for Richard Benslow.
Banslow.
So we have 2-1-1-1.
Just like-
2-1-1.
Just like you
Just what I
said.
thought it was going to be. Okay. So we have
So you could send
3 people with 1.
Correct. Mark, Leif-
What are they again? I'm sorry. What are they?
Banslow has 1, Probanik has 1, Halverson has 1, Mary Claire Potter has 2.
So you could send them around again and see if the vote changes.
Yeah, we kind of, Ellen and I talked about this scenario a little bit.
Some consolidation.
Yeah, we can do another vote.
We can
and
try
at
that.
some point, there can
How
be
many
more.
how many of those sheets do you have?
Plenty.
6, and then at that point, I just tear up pieces of paper and you can just handwrite names on them.
There you go.
Again, we have 4 that we need to have to be appointed.
Mhm.
All right, do it again. Vikings hat. Okay.
A bigger box? What's a process issue?
The only box we can afford. No change.
Okay,
Surprise.
I wasn't.
Stubborn people here.
so now we have
Here,
the,
right?
the three people, there's three that have one vote,
Correct, and there's one person that has two.
okay?
Go off to three? Can they go off to three? Then
We have-
one vote?
Could vote on
And
just
then
the
try
three
to
and then.
stop those three to go to the next?
Is that your pleasure, or
Say it again?
take the three, people that received one vote,
Yeah.
Yep.
and
Do a
the
runoff.
the runoff of that group would go again against, Mary Claire has two votes.
Okay, so.
Or,
Or if there are two people who get two votes, then there are, be a three-way vote.
Yep.
okay,
Just have to.
Yeah, we just
Read it
gotta
out.
keep.
so what
So what are we
happens if
doing?
we have 5 votes for one of the people, or we have 4?
Once you have 4, you're
Yeah,
done.
we just.
Okay, so but you're, no, you, but
No, but
No.
you've
you
excluded
can't do that.
Claire.
You can't do that.
Oh, I see, I thought
Yeah.
I thought we were on to the third stage.
No,
No, no.
This will just be to
Narrow
get
down.
another candidate
Yeah.
or two.
Narrow down from the three single
Okay, then we
votes.
start over then with the votes again? Okay, so does everybody understand
You're
that?
voting between Halverson, Probonic, and Vanslo.
Correct. And the top vote getter there will be running off against Mary Claire. Is that clear as mud?
Yes.
Who's
Feel
that?
comfortable with-
Hudson,
She's made it
Provonik,
to the
and-
second round.
Vanslo.
Vanslo, Pravonic,
Halverson.
Halverson.
Right.
So we have 5 people voting.
So there could be a 2-2.
Could be
Then
2-2-1.
That's okay.
That gets it down
2-3.
3.
We can do it.
Shouldn't be that hard.
Good idea.
Vanslo received 3 of the 5.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're down to 2.
Vanslo and Potter, correct?
If you got, okay. Everyone clear on that now? Yeah.
I think I made fun of Jan for making all these ballots. Three for Vanslo, 2 for Potter.
Okay.
So
Need to get
they
more.
could-
One more.
We need
Or
another
or they
vote.
can-
Or you can vote
Vote
to
to
suspend
suspend
A
the
motion
rules.
to suspend the rules.
Vote again.
But I don't think we're gonna get any more refined. I will move that we suspend the rules to take the vote as it is.
I'll second.
Because I don't think we're gonna get, I don't think we can.
Do we vote one more time after we suspend the rules, or can they, or just suspend the
No,
rules?
if they
Okay.
vote to suspend the rules, then
And accept the
accept
vote.
this. That's what you're voting on.
So that's your motion, Scott?
Yes.
Suspend the rules and accept this vote, okay.
Okay, is there a
We need
second?
4 votes to.
Suspend the rules. Is there a second to Mr. O'Malley's motion?
Second.
Second. Okay, we need a roll call vote to suspend the rules.
Yaku?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Marset?
No.
You have 4 votes.
Okay.
So Mr. Vanslo is...
Mr. Vanslo, congratulations.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Are we going to swear him in right now?
Well, if Jan has the document here, I will.
Congratulations. Wow. still have some items to finish, folks.
Oh.
Yes.
We're not even done.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a couple. Yep, we're gonna swear them in, then we'll
Have some items.
sit, and then we'll make some appointments, hopefully.
Good going. The evening's yet young.
Yeah. Mr. Vanslo, would you like to step over here, please? He's my neighbor.
I'll just have you stand over here.
Yep.
Raise your right hand, and you can just read this top part back to me.
Okay. I, Richard Vanslo, having been appointed as Alderperson District 6 for the City of Hudson, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Rich, congratulations. Okay.
Oh, I'll have you sign this then after the meeting. You can go ahead and sign right now if you want.
Yeah, sign it first.
Thank you. Okay. And then we'll be in touch with the information.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is consideration appointment of alderperson to Public Works Committee. I would like to nominate Richard Vanslo to the Public Works Committee, and I would like to nominate Mr. O'Malley as chair of that committee.
Second. Is that a motion or not?
You can't make the motion.
No, someone has to make.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
You're gonna have to change your last name.
Yeah. I called you somebody else. So all in favor,
I'll tell them you said that.
all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The second committee, I would like to appoint Randy Morissette to the Finance Committee. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And third, I would like to nominate Lori Bernard for the Planning Commission.
So moved.
We need 4 votes for
Yeah, that needs to be approved by 4 votes of the council.
Correct. That is 4 votes.
Have a motion.
Yep, there is a motion.
I already moved.
Is there a second?
Wait a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? These appointments are good until April. So we'll take a hard look at those again, and we'll look at all of them again. I don't know who's going to be here. There's 3 people up for election. Other comments? I think Tom has left already. I'd like to thank him for a great job he did snow plowing.
Yeah.
I think it was a tough event. I hope it's stopped out there now. It looks like it, but he did a really nice job. I'd like to wish everyone on the council a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and to all the residents. And again, my last thing is let's shop local if we can for the holidays. Our merchants would appreciate it. Any other alderperson have anything they'd like to add?
I'd like to echo your comments on happy holidays to everyone in Hudson.
Okay. City attorney.
Ditto.
City administrator.
I yield the floor to Ms. Bernard.
Thank
Can I
you,
do
'cause
that?
I'm-
Sure. Did I forget about you, Lori?
That's okay. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Vanslo on your appointment, and we look forward to working with you.
Okay. Anyone else?
As I mentioned, the tax bills did go out today's mail. If you have questions, feel free to call down here. We have a process in place to address questions so that we're not doing it on the fly, so we can research. So I'm sure there will be questions. The mill rate did come out 0.04 of a cent less, so our calculations were right.
Good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job, folks.